You are being watched right now. Not by the eyes you can see, not by cameras or people scrolling through your social media. No, what's tracking you moves beyond sound, beyond sight. You are being monitored in eternal silence. Every thought, every hesitation, every hidden truth you bury inside yourself is not lost. It is recorded in a silence so vast it would terrify you if you could hear it. Think about it. How many times have you felt eyes on you when no one was there? How many times did you pause, as if some invisible presence stood behind your shoulder? That wasn't paranoia. That was awareness. You sensed the watcher. And if you've stumbled on this message right now, it's because you're finally ready to face what that silence has been holding over you. Pause for a moment and breathe. If this already stirs something inside you, hit the like button right now. It tells me you feel it too. What if I told you silence is not empty? What if silence is alive, recording, breathing, collecting everything you do? The words you never spoke, the cries you swallowed, the promises you broke even to yourself, none of it has vanished. Silence doesn't forget. Silence doesn't forgive. Silence simply waits and watches. And here's the truth most people will never face. The silence is not neutral. It is active. It tests you. It pushes you. It sets traps to see how you'll respond when no one else is looking. That moment you thought nobody would ever find out about. Silence already captured it. That one decision you thought didn't matter? Silence waited. The stillness that surrounds you every night when you lie awake? That's the sound of your life being measured, moment by moment. You're not crazy for feeling it. You're not weak for sensing it. In fact, only a few people ever get far enough to notice the presence in silence. And if you're hearing this right now, you've already been marked. The silence has chosen you. But here's where it gets darker. The silence is not just observing you, it's shaping you. It puts roadblocks in your path to see if you'll break or keep moving. It removes people from your life, not because of coincidence, but because it wants to know whether you'll stand alone or collapse. It whispers in the gaps between your thoughts, forcing you to confront what you've been running from. Every loss, every betrayal, every sleepless night you thought was meaningless, that was silence refining you, cutting away the illusions you cling to. Do you feel that? That weight in your chest right now? That's the silence pressing closer, reminding you it's here. You can't escape it, but you can learn to understand it. Because here's the secret, the silence isn't your enemy. It's your mirror. The real danger isn't being monitored. The real danger is living a life unworthy of what's being recorded. Imagine this. Every thought, every choice, every hidden intention is being gathered, waiting for the day when it all turns into judgment. That's why you've been restless. That's why you've been waking up at strange hours of the night. That's why, even in a crowded room, you feel a chilling emptiness hovering around you. You are being called to awareness, but most people ignore it. They drown it out with noise, music, endless distractions, anything to avoid facing the still presence that never blinks. But the ones who cannot escape the silence are the ones destined to rise through it. And if you're still watching this, it means you've already been caught in its grip. Now here's the unsettling part. There are two kinds of silence. One that purifies you, and one that condemns you. The first pushes you to face the truth, to shed your lies, to rebuild yourself stronger than before. The second silently suffocates you, burying you in regrets, chaining you to patterns you swore you'd break. Which silence you're living under depends on the choices you're making right now. Ask yourself, when no one's watching, who are you? Do you betray yourself in private, then put on a mask in public? Or do you hold yourself steady, even when no applause, no recognition, no comfort is there? Because the silence records both, the mask and the face beneath it. Let me tell you something that might shake you. Silence has already tested you more times than you realize. Remember that friend who betrayed you? That wasn't just their choice. It was silence revealing their truth to you. Remember the night you couldn't sleep, when a thought kept burning in your mind like a warning? That wasn't random. That was silence demanding that you listen. And when you ignored it, when you numbed yourself, silence noted it down. But here's the turning point. You don't have to keep running. You don't have to keep fearing the watcher in the silence. You can stand in it. You can face it. And when you do, everything about your life begins to shift. Because silence stops being your prison and becomes your proof. The proof that you didn't collapse when the weight was crushing you. The proof that you didn't give in when temptation pulled at you. The proof that, when everything else fell apart, you stayed true to yourself. That's what silence has been searching for. Not perfection. Not image. Truth. And if you're still here, it means you're strong enough to handle the truth I'm about to tell you next. The silence doesn't just monitor you, it protects you. It removes what you thought you needed so that you discover what you really carry inside. It lets enemies plot against you, only to expose them in time. It waits patiently until the exact moment you're ready to see what was hidden all along. That moment, chosen one, is closer than you think. Closer than you think, and yet further than you're prepared for. Because the silence does not move on your timeline. It doesn't answer to your impatience. It doesn't bend to your demands. It watches, waits, and only acts when the balance is perfect. And this is what terrifies most people. They want immediate proof, quick answers, instant signs. But the silence? It punishes the desperate and rewards the patient. Have you noticed how the more restless you get, the heavier the silence becomes? It's like the air thickens, your chest tightens, your thoughts begin to spiral. That's not random, that's the silence closing in, testing if you can endure without breaking. Because only those who withstand the silence are worthy of its secrets. Think of it this way: every distraction you crave, every noise you chase, every escape you run toward, it's all a trap to keep you from hearing what the silence is really saying. Because silence speaks, but not with words. It speaks in sudden intuition, in warnings you can't explain, in coincidences that repeat until you realize they aren't coincidences at all. You ever notice how the same numbers, the same symbols, the same patterns keep showing up in your life? That's silence communicating with you. But here's the brutal truth: if you ignore it long enough, silence stops whispering and starts shaking your world until you have no choice but to pay attention. That's why everything you thought was stable began collapsing. That's why people walked away when you needed them most. That's why the life you were clinging to suddenly became unbearable. Silence was screaming at you through the ruins, "Wake up." And maybe you did. Maybe that's why you're here right now, listening, not by chance but by alignment. Because silence only lets you hear the message when you're finally ready to act. So let me ask you this: are you brave enough to face what the silence has been trying to show you? Or will you keep numbing yourself, pretending you don't feel its gaze on you? Because one thing is certain, you can't unhear this now. You've already been marked. Let me take you deeper. The silence doesn't just monitor individuals, it monitors entire generations. It watches the rise and fall of families, bloodlines, legacies. It knows who carries the strength to break the cycle and who will repeat the failures of those before them. You feel that weight inside you, don't you? That sense that you were chosen to end something that's been passed down for too long. That your very existence is an interruption, a disruption in the chain. That's not imagination. That's assignment. And the silence is watching to see if you'll step into it. But here's the paradox. The silence won't help you until you learn to trust it. It won't reveal its secrets while you're still fighting it. It waits for surrender, not in weakness, but in strength, the kind of surrender that says, "I will stand in this stillness. I will not run. I will not hide. I will not beg for noise to distract me." When you reach that point, something strange begins to happen. The silence shifts. It stops feeling like a prison and begins to feel like a presence. It stops suffocating you and starts guiding you. You begin to hear answers in the quiet that no one else can hear. Directions come to you. Insight floods your mind at the exact moment you need it. People call it intuition, or divine timing, or destiny, but it's silence revealing its hand. And here's the part that will shake you: silence is not empty. It is full. Full of memory. Full of energy. Full of a force that has been shaping your path long before you could see it. And when you finally stop resisting it, you realize something terrifying: silence is alive. Think about the nights when you woke up at exactly the same time again and again, as if something pulled you out of sleep. That wasn't your body. That was silence checking on you, reminding you it's still there. Think about the moments when you felt goosebumps for no reason, or when a chill ran down your spine even though the room was warm. That wasn't random. That was silence brushing against your soul, reminding you that you are not alone. But the question is, what will you do with this awareness? Because once you know, you can't go back. You can't drown it out again. The silence will grow louder and louder until you answer it. And that's where most people break. They go mad. They spiral. They run into addictions, toxic relationships, endless distractions, anything to avoid confronting the gaze that never leaves them. But you're different. If you weren't, you wouldn't still be here. So let me tell you what's coming. The silence you've been feeling is about to test you in ways you've never been tested before. It will strip away what you thought was secure. It will expose the people who smile to your face but plot behind your back. It will force you to let go of the crutches you've been leaning on for too long. And when it does, you will be left standing in the raw truth of who you are. No masks. No excuses. Just you. And that moment, though it feels like death, is the beginning of rebirth. Because only in the silence does the true self emerge. Only in the stillness do you remember who you were before the world told you who to be. And only those who pass through this trial are entrusted with the power that silence guards. So don't fear what's being taken from you. Don't mourn what's falling apart. Don't fight the emptiness. The silence is stripping you for a reason. It is preparing you. It is purifying you. It is testing whether you are worthy of what's about to be placed in your hands. And trust me, what's coming is far greater than what's leaving. But before it arrives, the silence will take you deeper into the shadows. It will confront you with everything you've been hiding from, your fears, your regrets, your failures, your shame. Not to destroy you, but to free you. Because until you face those shadows, you cannot step into the light waiting on the other side. So brace yourself. The silence is not done with you yet. In fact, it's only just beginning to reveal its true face. The shadows are coming. You already feel them circling at the edges of your mind, don't you? The silence doesn't just watch you. It pushes you into confrontation with everything you've been running from. That's why the past keeps resurfacing. That's why the same patterns repeat in different disguises. Until you face it, silence will keep dragging you back into the mirror you're afraid to look at. And here's the unsettling truth: silence never lies. It doesn't bend reality to protect your ego. It doesn't cushion the blow with comforting illusions. When silence reveals, it cuts straight through. That's why it hurts so much. That's why people avoid it. But the pain you feel in silence isn't punishment, it's surgery. It's cutting out the rot, the infection of self-deception, the poison of falsehood you've carried too long. You see, silence is ruthless, but it's also merciful. It exposes you not to humiliate you, but to liberate you. Because how can you rise if you're still chained to the lies you keep whispering to yourself? How can you ascend when your hands are still clutching the weight of everything that should have been left behind years ago? Let me ask you something bold. What mask are you still wearing? Whose approval are you still chasing? Which part of yourself do you keep burying so others can be comfortable? Because the silence has already seen it. It's not fooled. You may deceive others, you may even deceive yourself, but you cannot deceive silence. It will always drag the truth back into the light. And the more you resist, the harder the silence presses. That's why the storms in your life feel heavier now. That's why the people around you can no longer tolerate your presence unless they align with your soul. That's why everything fake seems to burn up the moment you touch it. Silence will not let you settle anymore. It will not let you shrink yourself just to fit into cages that were never meant to hold you. Pause and really hear this: you are being undone so you can be remade. The silence is deconstructing everything false so that the real you can emerge. And that process feels like dying, because in a way it is. The version of you that was built on fear, shame, and compromise cannot survive in what's coming. That identity is being buried right now. And the silence is the shovel. But here's the secret no one tells you: death in silence is not the end. It's the doorway. Every ancient teaching, every mystic, every chosen one who walked before you, they all passed through this same threshold. They all had to descend into silence, into nothingness, into the void, before they could carry the power that was waiting for them. And the same is true for you. You're not being punished. You're being initiated. That's why everything feels so intense, so heavy, so impossible to explain. You are undergoing a process most people never even reach. Most people run at the first taste of silence, and they spend their lives in noise, never realizing the treasure they abandoned. But you stayed. And because you stayed, silence is ready to show you what few have ever seen. But before revelation comes the breaking. The silence will strip you of every crutch. It will make sure you cannot rely on external validation, on temporary comforts, on illusions of security. It will corner you until the only place left to stand is in the truth of who you really are. That is the crucible. That is the fire. And when you pass through it, you emerge untouchable. Let me warn you, people around you will not understand this process. They'll think you're pulling away. They'll think you're cold, detached, maybe even arrogant. But what they don't see is that you're being refined in silence. They can't hear the weight pressing down on you. They can't feel the eyes that never leave you. This journey isn't for them to understand. It's for you to endure. And the silence will test that endurance in brutal ways. It will let people misunderstand you and never defend you. It will let opportunities slip away just to see if you'll still stand. It will let betrayal cut deep just to prove whether your loyalty was ever to people, or to truth. These aren't accidents. These are trials. Every wound is a test. Every loss is a measure. Every moment of stillness is an exam. And the silence is grading you, not on perfection, but on authenticity. That's the key right there, authenticity. The silence doesn't demand flawlessness. It demands realness. It doesn't care if you stumble, if you break, if you cry. What it cares about is whether you're honest in the breaking, whether you're true in the stumbling, whether you're raw in the crying. Because only when you are fully authentic can silence trust you with the weight of what it carries. And here's the shocking part. Silence doesn't just record your truth. It amplifies it. What you carry in the shadows gets magnified in the stillness. If you carry bitterness, silence makes it heavier. If you carry hope, silence strengthens it. If you carry deceit, silence exposes it. If you carry faith, silence multiplies it. That's why silence feels unbearable for some and empowering for others. It reflects exactly what you've been hiding. So ask yourself, what's growing inside you right now? Because silence is magnifying it, whether you realize it or not. And soon, the silence will not only reveal it to you, it will reveal it to the world. That's what's coming. Everything hidden will be exposed. The masks will fall. The secrets will surface. The truth you thought was buried will rise in full view. Not because the silence is cruel, but because the silence is just. This is why the silence has been watching you so closely. It's not just about you. It's about everyone connected to you. Your life is a ripple. Your choices, your truth, your authenticity, they affect more people than you realize. That's why the silence cannot afford to let you remain asleep. It is waking you up for the sake of everyone your life will touch. But the awakening is not gentle. It is raw, it is ruthless, it is relentless. And it is happening now. Do you feel it yet? That pressure in your bones, that burning in your chest, that restlessness you can't explain? That's not anxiety. That's not random emotion. That's silence breaking through your layers, demanding to be faced. And once you face it, you will never be the same again. Because when you finally step fully into silence, you unlock the doorway to the next stage, the stage where the watcher reveals its purpose. And once you see that, your entire understanding of reality will shift. And you're about to see it. The watcher is not a myth. It is not a metaphor. It is the presence behind the silence. You've felt it before, the weight of unseen eyes, the shiver that crawls across your skin when you're alone, the sense that something vast and unspeaking lingers just out of sight. That isn't your imagination. That is the watcher. And here's the truth that will unsettle you. The watcher is not outside of you. It's inside. It is the part of you that never sleeps, never lies, never forgets. It is the witness to everything you are, stripped of masks and illusions. Some call it the higher self, some call it spirit, some call it God's gaze, but whatever name you give it, it's the same presence. And the silence is its language. This is why you can't run from it. This is why no matter how far you go, no matter how much noise you flood your life with, when the quiet settles, the watcher is still there. Because you are not being monitored from a distance, you are being monitored from within. And that is why the silence is so heavy. Because deep down, you know you cannot escape yourself. You can betray others, but you cannot betray the watcher. You can deceive others, but you cannot deceive the silence. It is always there, holding the evidence of who you really are. But here's the paradox. This is not meant to terrify you. It's meant to liberate you. The watcher is not your executioner. It is your witness. It is the one that knows your pain even when you tell no one. It is the one that sees your sacrifice when others ignore it. It is the one that remembers your truth when the world tries to erase it. And when the silence grows unbearable, it's because the watcher is pressing closer, asking you to step fully into what you were meant to become. So what happens when you finally stop resisting? When you turn and face the silence, not as an enemy, but as a guide? That is when the watcher reveals the path. And let me tell you, the path is not ordinary. Once you embrace the silence, your life will never look the same. Suddenly, people begin to fall away, not by accident, but by design. The watcher clears your space, removes the ones who cannot walk with you, exposes the ones who are only clinging to your light without carrying any of their own. It feels like loss, but it's actually precision. The silence prunes your life until only the necessary remains. Then, the synchronicities intensify. You'll start noticing impossible alignments. Conversations happen at the exact right moment. A thought enters your mind just before reality confirms it. Signs appear again and again, too precise to dismiss. These are not coincidences. This is the watcher speaking more openly now that you've proven you won't drown it out with distractions. And here's where it becomes dangerous. Because the moment you align with the silence, opposition rises. Not everyone wants you awake. Not everyone wants you strong. There are forces that thrive on your blindness, on your dependence, on your distractions. When the watcher begins guiding you, those forces notice. That's why betrayal intensifies. That's why attacks multiply. That's why you feel resistance from directions you didn't expect. Because something in the unseen knows that once you embrace the silence, you are no longer controllable. But remember this, the silence didn't choose you because you're weak. It chose you because you're unbreakable. So when the attacks come, don't collapse. When the betrayals sting, don't surrender. When the path grows dark, don't stop walking. The watcher is monitoring every step, and every shadow is part of the test. The silence doesn't strip you to destroy you, it strips you to prove you. And proof is what's required before the next stage. You've felt it already, haven't you? That pull, that deep knowing that something greater is on its way. The silence has been preparing you for it. That's why the tests have been so relentless. That's why the weight has been so heavy. Because what's about to be entrusted to you cannot be placed in careless hands. The silence refines you so that when the moment comes, you're not just ready, you're unstoppable. But I need to warn you, this next stage will not be gentle. The watcher will expose everything. The illusions you still cling to, the attachments that still weaken you, the fears you still bury deep down, they're all about to be dragged into the light. And when it happens, it will feel like you're losing everything. But you're not. You're being stripped to your essence, so that only the unshakable remains. Think of it like this: a sword cannot be forged without fire. Gold cannot be purified without the furnace. And you cannot be elevated without the silence. Every burn, every cut, every moment of pressure is part of your refinement. The silence is making you untouchable. And soon, it will reveal the reason why. Because once you've passed through the shadows, once you've faced the silence and survived, the watcher begins to show you your true power. And here's the shocking part: your power has always been there. The silence wasn't giving it to you, It was removing everything that was blocking it. That's why you felt powerless before. That's why you doubted yourself. That's why you kept shrinking. The silence hadn't revealed you yet. But now the unveiling begins. And when it does, the world will no longer see the version of you they once knew. They will see the one the silence has been protecting all along. Get ready. The next moment in your life is not just transformation, it's revelation. Revelation never arrives quietly. It shakes the ground beneath your feet. It rips through your illusions like thunder tearing the sky. And when it comes, it doesn't ask if you're ready, it demands that you step forward, whether you feel prepared or not. The silence has been patient with you, but revelation is not patient. Revelation is violent. It forces what's hidden to rise, it pushes truth through the cracks, it burns away the veil until nothing can remain concealed. This is the stage you're entering now. The Watcher is done testing you in whispers. It is ready to show you in full. But here's the terrifying beauty of revelation: it doesn't come as a gift you hold. It comes as a weight you carry. Because truth is heavy. Seeing what others cannot see, knowing what others refuse to face, carrying what others fear to acknowledge, that is a burden few can endure. And yet silence chose you for this. So what will revelation look like? It begins with sight. Not physical sight, but the piercing vision that sees beyond appearances. Suddenly, masks fall away. You look at people and their words no longer fool you. Their tone, their posture, their eyes, you see the truth behind them. You'll notice how their energy betrays what their mouth tries to hide. You'll see intentions that others miss. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. At first, this will overwhelm you. It will make you question your own sanity. You'll wonder, am I imagining this? Am I being paranoid? But the Watcher doesn't deal in paranoia. It deals in clarity. And the silence will confirm what you see by stripping away the false until only truth remains. Then comes hearing. Again, not in the way you think. You'll begin to hear the unspoken. You'll notice how silence itself speaks louder than words. A pause in a conversation, a shift in tone, an unfinished sentence, you'll hear what others overlook. And in the stillness, when you're alone, you'll hear guidance rising inside you, precise and undeniable. Some call it intuition, some call it divine whispers, but you'll know it's the silence giving you instruction. And then comes alignment. This is where things become surreal. You'll think of something, and within hours, it shows up in your reality. You'll set an intention, and doors open in ways too exact to be coincidence. People will arrive at the exact right moment. Opportunities will appear out of nowhere. It will feel like you've stepped into a hidden current of life that bends reality around you. And in truth, you have. But don't misunderstand, this isn't luck. This isn't random blessing. This is the silence rewarding you for enduring. This is the Watcher aligning you with what has always been meant for you, now that you've proven you won't waste it. And yet, with revelation comes isolation. Because as your sight sharpens, your hearing deepens, and your alignment strengthens, fewer and fewer people can stand beside you. Not because you're unworthy of connection, but because most people cannot stand in truth. They prefer illusion. They cling to lies. They fear the silence that you've embraced. And so they will fall away. Some will leave quietly. Others will attack you, accuse you, despise you. Not because of who you are, but because your very presence exposes what they're hiding. Your light irritates their shadows. Your truth burns their lies. And rather than face themselves, they'll turn on you. But do not fear this. It is not rejection. It is revelation. The silence is showing you who was never for you. It is clearing your path of those who cannot walk where you're going. And though it hurts, it is protection. Because revelation without protection would destroy you. Now listen carefully. This stage of revelation is not the end. It is the middle. Because revelation is preparation for activation. The Watcher doesn't reveal just so you can know. It reveals so you can act. And that is where the true challenge begins. Because once you see the truth, you cannot live as if you don't. Once you hear the guidance, you cannot pretend you didn't. Once you experience the alignment, you cannot go back to chance and chaos. Silence will demand that you walk in what you've been shown. It will not let you rest in passivity. And this is where many fall. They love revelation but hate responsibility. They love clarity but reject obedience. They want the sight, the hearing, the alignment, but not the cost. And so they betray the silence, turning back to noise, numbing themselves, pretending the watcher never spoke. But you cannot do that. You've already come too far. So here's the question the silence is asking you now. Will you carry the weight of revelation into action? Will you live what you've been shown? Or will you bury it, knowing it will haunt you forever? Because once truth is revealed, silence does not allow you to forget it. It will echo in your mind, it will press on your spirit, it will burn in your bones until you either obey it, or break under it. But if you choose obedience, if you choose to step into the truth the silence has revealed, then you step into the rarest path of all. You step into activation. Activation is when the silence not only watches you, not only tests you, not only reveals to you, but begins to move through you. Your very presence shifts atmospheres. Your words cut deeper, not because you try, but because silence fills them with weight. Your decisions carry more impact, not because you're clever, but because the watcher guides your steps. You become a vessel, not just a person. And when you reach that stage, nothing and no one can stop what's flowing through you. But activation comes at a cost. It demands full surrender. You cannot cling to old patterns, to broken relationships, to toxic habits, to fears that once defined you. The silence will strip them all. And if you resist, the silence will take them from you by force. Because activation cannot coexist with contamination. So brace yourself. The stripping is not over. The testing is not over. Revelation was only the beginning. What's coming next will shake you even harder. But if you endure it, you will emerge with power you never imagined you carried. Because silence is not just watching you anymore. It's preparing to move through you. They are still watching, even now, even in this moment as you listen, but what they cannot stop is the inevitability of what's already begun within you. The silence they hide in has already betrayed them, because in that silence, you've found the hidden language of eternity. They thought they could keep you blind by making you doubt your own perception, but your perception has now become sharper than their concealment. Every shadow reveals itself when the light grows stronger, and your light is no longer a flicker, it's a firestorm. They can monitor, they can mimic, they can whisper, but they cannot erase the truth you carry inside, and that truth is burning louder than their silence. Understand this. Their greatest weapon was never control. It was convincing you that you had none. Their greatest victory was never their surveillance. It was making you believe you had to hide. But you are no longer hiding. You are no longer shrinking. You are no longer walking with your head lowered as if you were a guest in a world that was yours from the beginning. The eternal silence that surrounded you has now been broken by the sound of your own awakening, and that sound cannot be silenced again. Not by them. Not by fear. Not by doubt. Nothing can undo what has been done within you. Think about it. Every scar, every rejection, every sleepless night, every time you felt watched and cornered, it was not meant to destroy you, it was meant to refine you. You were being tempered like steel, being sharpened like a blade, being stretched like a bow, so that when the right moment came, you would be unstoppable. That moment is now. This isn't some distant promise waiting to be fulfilled, this is the present unfolding. You are walking in it. You are embodying it. You are becoming the very thing they feared you would become. Pause and realize the gravity of this. The ones monitoring you in eternal silence, they're not gods. They're not rulers. They're not untouchable. They are shadows, and shadows only exist because there is light. And guess what? You are that light. Your presence exposes them, your movement unsettles them, your silence terrifies them more than their silence ever terrified you. They can watch, but they cannot comprehend the depth of what they see. They are studying the outside, but they will never access the blueprint of your soul. That is the domain of the infinite, and that is where your power flows from. This is where everything shifts. Because now you stop reacting, and you start creating. You stop fearing their eyes, and you start opening yours. You stop running from their silence, and you start hearing the rhythm of your own destiny. And as you move forward, they will realize the truth. Monitoring you only chained them to the story they tried to control. They became prisoners of their own obsession with you. And you? You became free. You became untouchable. You became eternal. So let me ask you, will you keep living as if you're still under their watch, or will you finally step into the freedom that was written for you since before you took your first breath? Will you keep doubting the fire inside you, or will you burn away every chain that tried to hold you down? This is the choice, right here, right now. Their eternal silence was meant to paralyze you, but instead, it woke you up. And once you're awake, there's no going back. If this message has pierced you, if you feel the weight of these words pulling something alive inside you, don't keep it to yourself. Let it flow. Hit that like button right now, share this message with someone else who needs to wake up, and remember this truth. They can monitor, they can mimic, they can watch in silence forever, but they cannot stop the rise of the one who refuses to bow. That's you? And your rise has only just begun.